Behind every whispered secret and cracked code lies a darkness few dare to face. What if the lines between friend and foe blur, and the weapons forged to save become the very instruments of horror? Step carefully, what you are about to uncover was meant to stay buried, lost in the shadows of a war that reshaped the world, but also shattered souls in ways no history book dares to fully reveal. In the shadowed halls of Bletchley Park, as World War II reached its darkest days, Evelyn Harper sat hunched over a clattering typewriter, her fingers flying across the keys with a purpose few outside the secretive world of codebreakers could fathom. The year was 1940, and Britain's survival hinged on a fragile thread woven through intercepted Nazi communications. Yet, Evelyn's story was not just about cryptography and intercepted transmissions. It was a story about loyalty, family, and the invisible war fought in minds rather than trenches. Evelyn had been a linguist, fluent in German and several other European languages, when she was recruited by the government code and cipher school. Her role was critical: to assist in breaking the Enigma codes, encrypted messages transmitted by the German military that were believed to be unbreakable. The Battle of Britain was in full swing, and with every decoded message, the Royal Air Force gained precious minutes and insights, allowing them to outmaneuver the Luftwaffe in a deadly aerial dance over the skies of England. The work was grueling and often thankless. Long nights spent staring at endless streams of cipher text, punctuated only by the mechanical whir of the bomb machines designed by Alan Turing and his colleagues. Evelyn's sharp mind and attention to detail made her invaluable, but beneath the surface of dedication lay a torment she could not share. Her younger brother, Friedrich, had returned to Germany years earlier, swept up by the nationalist fervor and conscripted into the Luftwaffe. Evelyn had not heard from him since the war began. Each intercepted message carried a ghostly echo of him, his voice fragmented within coded transmissions she helped unravel. She was decoding messages that could very well direct attacks on the very skies where her brother flew. One evening, as blackout curtains kept the moonlight from slipping into their secret quarters, Evelyn stumbled upon an encoded message unusually detailed and urgent. It spoke of a major Luftwaffe operation planned over southern England in the coming days. Her heart pounded as she realized this information could save thousands of lives. Yet, it also meant placing her brother directly in the line of fire. She carried the secret to the commander of the code-breaking unit, who immediately relayed the intelligence to Fighter Command. The RAF scrambled to prepare for the raid, redirecting squadrons of Spitfires to intercept the German bombers. The Battle of Britain depended on such moments, small windows where codebreakers like Evelyn turned the tide by revealing the enemy's hand. As the night of the raid arrived, Evelyn sat by the radio room, listening intently to the frantic chatter of pilots as they engaged the enemy. Somewhere in the roar of engines and the crackle of gunfire was her brother's voice, though she would never hear it. Hours later, when the skies fell silent and the RAF emerged victorious, she allowed herself a fleeting hope that Friedrich had survived. But war is relentless and cruel. Weeks later, news came of a downed German aircraft, its pilot unaccounted for. Evelyn's mind raced with the worst possibilities. She poured her grief into her work, using it as armor against despair. At Bletchley Park, camaraderie blossomed among the codebreakers despite the stress. Evelyn found unexpected friendship with fellow crypt analyst Peter Wilkes, whose sharp wit and unwavering optimism kept the team's morale intact. Peter encouraged her to speak of her fears, but Evelyn guarded her secret closely. She was torn between two worlds, the sister yearning for her brother's safety and the patriot committed to defeating the Axis powers. One day, Peter uncovered a pattern in the Enigma traffic indicating a new secret weapon, an early prototype of what would later become the V-2 rocket. The discovery alarmed the team. If Germany mastered this technology, it could change the course of the war. Evelyn's work became even more urgent. As the months passed, the tide of war slowly shifted. The RAF gained control of the skies, and the Allies prepared for broader offensives. Yet Evelyn's personal war continued silently. A coded message she helped decrypt revealed Friedrich had been captured by the Allies after a failed bombing raid. The news was bittersweet. Her brother was alive but imprisoned. After the war, Evelyn learned that Friedrich had survived and was living quietly in a displaced persons camp, haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. The siblings reunited in London, both changed irrevocably by the conflict. Evelyn's role in cracking the Enigma had helped save countless lives, but it was the bonds of family and forgiveness that defined her true victory. Whispers Behind the Enigma is not just a story of secret codes and military intelligence. It is a story about the invisible scars of war and the complex loyalties that define us in times of global conflict. Evelyn Harper's legacy reminds us that sometimes the most powerful battles are fought not with weapons, but with courage, conviction, and the quiet strength of the human spirit. The city of Leningrad, caught in the icy grip of a relentless siege, had become a fortress of endurance and despair. The winter of 1941 was one of the harshest in living memory, and the German Wehrmacht's Operation Barbarossa sought to crush the Soviet spirit by starving the city into submission. Amidst this grim backdrop, Alexei Morozov, a humble factory worker turned partisan leader, emerged as a symbol of defiance in the frozen wasteland. Before the war, Alexei had lived an ordinary life in Leningrad's industrial heart. He worked the assembly lines by day and dreamed of a peaceful future by night. But when Nazi forces encircled the city in September 1941, cutting off supply routes and condemning millions to starvation, Alexei's world transformed overnight. Food dwindled to near nothing, frostbite claimed bodies on the streets, and death became a daily visitor. Refusing to submit, Alexei joined a band of underground partisans, ordinary citizens who had taken up arms to disrupt German supply lines, sabotage railroads, and relay crucial intelligence to the Red Army. They moved through the snow-covered forests surrounding Leningrad with stealth and purpose, becoming ghosts to the enemy. Their motto was simple: if the city was to fall, it would not be without a fight. Alexei quickly rose through the ranks, his intimate knowledge of the city's outskirts and unyielding determination making him a natural leader. The partisans operated in small, covert cells, relying on clandestine radio broadcasts and coded messages to coordinate efforts with Soviet forces advancing from the east. Each successful sabotage delayed the German advance, buying precious time for the beleaguered citizens inside the city walls. Life in the city was a study in endurance. Factories struggled to maintain production of tanks and ammunition despite severe shortages. The famous siege of Leningrad forced residents to ration everything, from bread to fuel, while enduring daily bombardment. Alexei's thoughts often returned to his wife and young son, sheltering somewhere inside the city, their faces etched into his memory like talismans against despair. The winter deepened, bringing with it a bitter cold that seeped into every bone. Yet the partisan spirit remained unbroken. One night, under the cover of a blizzard, Alexei's group successfully derailed a key supply train heading toward the front lines, destroying ammunition and food meant for the German troops. The act was risky but vital, crippling the enemy's momentum. As the siege dragged into its second year, the hardships intensified. Starvation took its toll, forcing people to consume everything from leather shoes to wallpaper paste. The streets were haunted by those who had lost everything, but the hope that the city would survive was kept alive by stories of partisan heroism. Secret radio broadcasts, fueled by their intelligence, reassured the populace that the Soviet counteroffensive was imminent. Alexei's role extended beyond sabotage. He became a beacon of hope, organizing secret gatherings where partisans shared news, encouraged civilians, and preserved a sense of community. His leadership was tested again when a trusted member of his cell was discovered to be a German informant. The betrayal almost compromised their entire network, forcing Alexei to make painful decisions about trust and survival. By early 1943, as the Soviet Union launched Operation Iskra to break the siege, Alexei's intelligence work proved invaluable. The partisans provided detailed maps of German positions and relayed the timing of troop movements. The Red Army's push into the surrounding countryside finally pierced the blockade, allowing limited supplies to trickle back into Leningrad. The lifting of the siege marked a turning point, both militarily and emotionally. Citizens flooded the streets, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and elation. Yet the scars ran deep. More than 1 million had perished during the siege. Alexei returned to the city, reunited with his family, and helped rebuild shattered neighborhoods. Shadows of the Siberian Winter is not merely a tale of military tactics and partisan warfare, it is a tribute to human resilience amid the cruelties of war. Through Alexei Morozov's journey, we glimpse the profound courage it took to resist under impossible circumstances and the unyielding hope that kept Leningrad alive during its darkest hours. This story stands as a testament to the countless unsung heroes who fought not only against an invading army but against the harshest winter nature could unleash. The island of Iwo Jima, a small volcanic outcrop in the Pacific Ocean, would become one of the bloodiest and most iconic battles of World War II. Lieutenant James "Jimmy" Collins, a young American Marine from Ohio, found himself at the heart of this fiery crucible in early 1945. His story, told through letters home and recollections from fellow soldiers, captures the brutal reality of war and the courage that arises when men face death together. Jimmy had enlisted in the Marines with a sense of duty and adventure, unaware of the full horror that awaited him. After months of grueling training and battles across the Pacific, his unit was assigned to the invasion force targeting Iwo Jima. The island's strategic importance was clear. Its airfields allowed Japanese forces to launch attacks on American bombers heading toward Japan, and capturing it would provide a critical base for the Allies. On February 19, 1945, the invasion began with a massive naval bombardment. Jimmy's landing craft bounced violently over choppy waves, the roar of artillery shaking the very air. As his unit approached the black volcanic beaches, a storm of gunfire erupted. Japanese defenders, entrenched in a labyrinth of bunkers and tunnels, unleashed withering fire. The beach turned into a nightmare of smoke, blood, and chaos. Jimmy's first letter home, written with trembling hands in a moment of brief respite, tried to reassure his wife Mary. "The men are strong, and the cause is just. We'll make it through this hell." But the truth behind the words was a heart pounding with fear and determination. The battle was unlike anything Jimmy had imagined, a brutal contest where every inch of ground was paid for with sacrifice. The Japanese defenders, following orders to fight to the death, used the island's rugged terrain to their advantage. Kamikaze pilots had already ravaged the American fleet, but on land, the enemy's stubborn resistance slowed the Marines' advance. Underground tunnels allowed them to emerge unexpectedly, forcing relentless close-quarters combat. Jimmy's unit faced relentless artillery strikes and deadly sniper fire. Days stretched into weeks as the Marines clawed their way across the island, often fighting within yards of enemy positions. The iconic photograph of Marines raising the American flag on Mount Suribachi captured a moment of hope amidst carnage, but the battle was far from over. Letters from Jimmy grew more somber. "The losses are heavy, and some days it's hard to find the strength to keep moving forward. But we fight for each other and for those back home." Despite the exhaustion and grief, camaraderie among the men flourished. They shared stories, memories of families, and dreams of peace, anchoring themselves amid the chaos. Behind the scenes, military leaders debated the high cost of the island-hopping campaign. Iwo Jima was a stepping stone toward Japan's mainland, but the casualty rates raised questions about the war's human toll. The battle foreshadowed the even greater horrors soon to come with the atomic bomb's deployment. After more than a month of fighting, the island was declared secure. Jimmy survived, but many of his comrades did not. He returned home changed forever, bearing the physical and emotional scars of war. His letters, preserved by Mary, became a poignant record of sacrifice, courage, and the complicated nature of victory. Island of Fire: The Battle for Iwo Jima illuminates the personal dimension behind one of the Pacific theater's most critical battles. Through Jimmy Collins' eyes, we witness the grit and humanity of soldiers caught in the inferno of war, the terrible cost of strategic victories, and the enduring hope for peace beyond the flames. Paris in 1943 was a city cloaked in shadows. The elegant boulevards, once alive with laughter and light, had become silent pathways of fear and resistance under Nazi occupation. Simone Du Bois, a 19-year-old courier for the French resistance, moved through these streets carrying more than just letters. She carried the fragile hope of liberation. Simone's world had been shattered when German troops marched into Paris. Her family, proud patriots, had been forced into silence or collaboration. But Simone chose a different path. Joining the resistance was not only an act of rebellion, but a testament to her belief in freedom. As a courier, she delivered messages between clandestine cells, connecting fighters in Paris with operatives of the Special Operations Executive, WWII, in London and the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, in America. The work was perilous. The Gestapo, ruthless and ever watchful, sought to dismantle the underground networks. Every step Simone took was a dance with danger. She disguised herself as a student, a shop assistant, blending into crowds and slipping past checkpoints. Her small frame and quick mind were her greatest weapons. One mission led her to a narrow café on Rue Saint-Honoré, where she passed a briefcase containing detailed plans for sabotage operations targeting German rail lines. It was a crucial link in the resistance's efforts to disrupt troop movements ahead of the anticipated Allied invasion. But as Simone returned to her safe house, unease gnawed at her. There had been whispers of a traitor in their midst. Her suspicions proved true when a raid shattered their hideout. Betrayed by a double agent, several resistance members were captured, and Simone barely escaped. Now hunted, she moved with heightened caution, her letters and messages encrypted with new codes. Her resolve hardened, she would not let betrayal break their cause. Simone's path crossed with Pierre Lambert, an SOE agent recently parachuted into France. Together, they orchestrated acts of sabotage and coordinated with Allied forces preparing for D-Day. Their partnership blossomed into a deep bond forged in shared danger and unyielding hope. In a poignant final letter to her mother, Simone wrote, "The night is darkest before dawn. I carry the light of France in my heart, and soon, we will see freedom's sunrise." Her words encapsulated the spirit of a generation that refused to bow to tyranny. Following the successful Normandy landings, Paris was liberated in August 1944. Simone emerged from the shadows, her courage a beacon for those who had suffered under occupation. The scars of betrayal and loss remained, but so did the fierce pride of resistance. The last letter from Paris reveals the untold sacrifices of ordinary people who became extraordinary heroes. Simone Du Bois' story is a tribute to the underground networks that stitched together hope in the face of oppression and the enduring power of resilience in the quest for freedom. Dr. Kenji Nakamura stood at the crossroads of history and conscience, a physicist whose brilliant mind had helped unlock the secrets of atomic energy, yet whose heart was burdened by the consequences of his work. As a Japanese-American scientist secretly involved in the Manhattan Project during World War II, Kenji's life was a study in paradoxes, caught between loyalty to his country and the painful reality of discrimination. Born in California to immigrant parents, Kenji's early years were filled with a love of science and a desire to contribute to the world's progress. However, following the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Kenji and his family were uprooted and forced into internment camps, stripped of their rights and dignity under suspicion of disloyalty. Despite this injustice, Kenji was recruited by the Office of Scientific Research and Development, his expertise too valuable to ignore. At Los Alamos, New Mexico, Kenji joined a diverse team of scientists racing against time to build an atomic bomb that could end the war. The project was shrouded in secrecy, with each member aware of the weapon's devastating power but uncertain of its moral implications. Kenji wrestled with his role in creating a force that could obliterate entire cities, even as his family remained behind barbed wire fences. In letters smuggled out of the laboratory, Kenji expressed his inner turmoil. "We wield a power unlike any before. It promises peace but threatens destruction. I am torn between hope that this ends the war and fear of what it truly means for humanity." His reflections echoed the conflicted conscience of many scientists involved in the project. The day came in August 1945 when the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Kenji watched in horror as news reports detailed the unimaginable devastation and loss of life. The cities he once dreamed of visiting as a child were reduced to ashes. Survivors faced radiation sickness and trauma that would haunt generations. In the aftermath, Kenji became an outspoken advocate for nuclear disarmament, using his knowledge and platform to warn against the dangers of atomic warfare. He traveled the world, speaking at conferences and engaging in dialogue aimed at preventing future catastrophes. His efforts helped lay the groundwork for the Cold War-era treaties and the formation of international bodies like the United Nations. Kenji also confronted the painful contradictions of his identity, a man loyal to a nation that had interned him, working on a weapon that destroyed his ancestral homeland. He sought reconciliation through education, promoting understanding between cultures scarred by war and prejudice. Echoes of Hiroshima: The Scientist's Dilemma is a story of science, ethics, and humanity. Through Dr. Kenji Nakamura's journey, we confront the profound responsibilities that come with knowledge and the enduring hope that even in the darkest moments, conscience and courage can light the way toward peace. The truth hides in the silence between the gunfire and the broken promises. Some stories are not just about battles won or lost, but about the invisible scars left on those who carried secrets heavier than any weapon. In this world of shadows and echoes, the greatest horrors are not always seen, only felt, long after the guns have fallen silent.